Well, hello. We live? Live. I'm not sure. One button says we're live, and then another button up here says that the camera is not working. And it also says all right. Well, it's a good thing. It's like 3 or 4 in the morning. Uh, Big of an idiot I am. Uh, I'm gonna ignore that other button up there that's saying that we are not live. So I'm gonna go with the other button that's saying that we are live. So, anyways, welcome to this early morning edition of. I am actually just trying some stuff out here for a live video on my website. My name is David Moore, the owner and founder of YPN Incorporated, and I was just kind of messing with some stuff tonight. I work all the time, like 24/7, it seems, and probably should sleep more than I do, but there's just too much stuff going on. So. Um, Anyways, I was up working on this tonight and I wanted to try it out and see if it works. So I'm going to push my website live right now. And I am on my website also at the same time. And I'm going to try to broadcast myself and see if I can see myself a little bit. So, anyways, that's what I'm doing right now. So it'll take a little bit. But I wanted to welcome you to the website. If you just landed on our website, this is, which one is this one? It is, YPN websites. There you go. Easy enough to remember. YPN websites. YPN stands for Young Professionals Network. And this is our website. Just first page, I always like to kind of explain stuff to people because sometimes when I land on a page or I'm navigating through, the internet and I get on a page, I have no clue what's going on with it. I'm like, why am I here? What is this page about? And what's its purpose for me? Like, why do I end up here? Because sometimes you accidentally click on stuff on accident, and hopefully that page is done well enough that you can you can tell what it is. But in case you can't, I tried to lay this one out like it's pretty easy. I just did it just actually in WordPress, and this one right here, and because GoDaddy has they have a new website builder, and I wanted to try it out to see what it was like, to see if I liked it. I'm always trying their stuff out because I paid them so much money; they kind of owe me to try all their stuff out now. But anyway, so I just kind of wanted to go through this website with you real quick and just kind of let you know what it's about. Yeah, great. Thanks, GoDaddy. I'm not gonna rant tonight. No ranting for me. I would love to I have a really good rant just saved up for GoDaddy. A really good one. And but it'd scare everybody in here. So I'm just gonna hold off. Anyways, I guess GoDaddy says it crashed right now. So news, but I could just kind of tell you visually kind of what it's like. Once you land on the page, whether it be a cell phone or a regular computer, you land on the page. It comes to the first part. It just kind of introduces ourselves, and as you scroll down the page, it talks a little bit about ourselves. And you'll come to this video. This video will be me saying this to you. So welcome again to our website. Looking forward to you spending some time on here, and we have live 24/7 customer care. If you guys need anything, feel free to reach out. Hey, you might even get me. You never know. We have live chat, and we also have people on the phones also about anything. And I think our platform and some of the stuff we're doing is pretty cool. This site is just kind of a thrown together site, so it's not our main one or anything, but it'll do the job. If you want to learn how to build a website and get your business online, this one will do it for you just fine. And I tried to have it explained in as easy way as possible. Just because I hate being confused, and I don't want other people to be confused. And so I tried to do that with the website. So it's one of the reasons why I'm explaining to you right now as well also. So if you keep scrolling down the page, you'll come up to, you get a free research tool, a keyword research tool. Um, Keywords and your niche to see if it is going to be a profitable niche, if it's going to be something that you'll want to go into and spend time and money and stuff building it up as a business online. Like that, the website is, this website in particular is designed to help you guys get a website up and running, and we have a number of different tools in here as well, also for small business. One of the tools is a business logo maker, a business card maker. We also have a business name generator. I like that one. That's pretty cool, because you could actually go in there and kind of play with it. And one of the good things to help figure out what type of name is a good name is the search engines in these companies that have a bunch of domains, because they'll come back with a lot of variations to a name, and you would have never thought of that before. So it's kind of cool to kind of mess with those and kind of see which ones are more profitable than the others. And a little trick secret is on GoDaddy. They just released this this tool with their domains that it tells the profitability of them. So you can go through a list of something that you kind of want, and you can just plug in the name there, and it'll come up with their list of items, that are similar to that. And what you could do is you look around in there, and if you look over to the right hand side while you're looking at the names, it'll say a dollar sign type of thing. So if you want to see the types of websites that have good commercial traffic or commercial intent, I guess you could say, that means that they're already kind of worth money, or the keywords on there a little bit of money. That's a good way to kind of tell if it has good commercial intent, which makes the website more valuable. Because ultimately, these are, if you're starting a business online or anything like that, whatever you're doing online, the ultimate goal is to make some money. Whether it be, just a little bit of money or, a bunch of money. But I always tell people there's no get rich thing online. The people that say that are just, they're idiots. So don't ever believe anything like that. But you can make some decent money in the long term, and it takes time and stuff like that. But it definitely can be done. And that's one of the things that will help you guys learn as well too. So feel free to stick around here, play around with the tools. If you get stuck on anything, like I said, I tried to make it as user friendly as possible. If you click on any of the get started type of things, they'll take you to check out your domain. Get started. That's the first thing is getting a domain, because domain is just where it starts. Because if you're gonna have a business online, or you want to grow your professional skills online, even, then having a domain is got to be the most helpful thing to doing that. Just having one, knowing the functionality of the internet, how it works on the front end and the back end on the websites, is stuff I think everybody should learn. Just because it helps you so much with your digital mastery, I guess you could say. And in case you haven't seen lately, there's been just tons and tons of things. Like the whole freaking world's online and there's quickly going there. So that's the future. I always say, hey, don't be left behind. They're cheap as heck. I mean, I think the demands are like $8 or $9 for the year, which is nothing. Hosting's like another, I don't know, $10 or something like that. So for a whole year, you might be paying $20, and you have a business just right there online. There's nothing else like it. And depending on what you put on there, your website, stuff like that, they appreciate value just like real estate. And that's where my background is at. I'm actually fairly new to the online world. I've been a mortgage lender for the past 14 and a half years now. So, but this is, I mean, exactly the same process in a way. They're just it's pieces of real estate online, and you can actually make some decent money at it. I've had several of my websites that have I've gotten to be fairly profitable and made a good return on it. And it's one of the things I'll show you guys how to do. Um, so anyways, just feel free to look around. If you have any questions, again, reach out to us. We're here to help. And if I can do anything for you personally, just, hey, hit me up on whatever. I mean, I'm on everything. I'm on like Facebook and, all the different things, but more than likely you'll find me like in our chat. I'm actually working on our chat portion of this. But I'm also on Skype as well too. So if you need to reach out to me on Skype, feel free to do that. If not, hey, hope you have a great time enjoying and learning. And that's the main thing is each day of your life, try to learn one thing, whatever it may be. I always tell my kids that, no matter what goes on in life, try to always do something good for somebody and try to learn something each day. That way you can continue moving forward with your life. And it not only gives you a sense of accomplishment and the fact that you're moving forward, but you're also doing something good for the world too, and that's what ultimately it's all about, is us giving back and making this world a little bit a better place. So anyways, my name is David Moore. Sorry, my scruffiness. This is dead of winter and it's freezing outside. So yeah, look forward to meeting with you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. say hello to yourselves. All right. Well, let's try something here. Oh, shoot, I don't have that tool. I can probably get it over here. Nope, I can't. Well, I'll be more than one way to skin a cat. Let me try this here. There we go. There we go. Oops. Is that you? You want to type? You want to type? What do you think? What do you think? What are you doing, Debbie? Guess you're coming inside.
Assets. They're keeping the real estate and they're keeping some of their TV business as well. Bob Iger staying on until about 2020 throughout the acquisition close. Looks like, and Lisa, we'll see about Sky, how Sky gets approval for that. By Sky and Disney wind up getting Sky, that's also in the cards.
Also in the cards. James Murdoch. What is his role going to be?
What is his role going to be? A successor, perhaps? Well, we'll ask. Maybe Bob Iger. He's Disney chairman and CEO. Will be joining us at 9 a.m. Eastern. This is Bloomberg.
Cancel the quest, guys. Two angels. What about a kisses? We should start. Oh, we should set up the last.
How about any song of real instruments? doing real good. Tell the rest of the world right now. Great. You know what's going to go from where? Go. Okay. Go. Bring us all high. Albert Einstein. The GOAT. Einstein. Ali. Now that's good. Show your age right now. So what? Play defense now. Let's go. Hey Twitter, I'm Saeed. And I'm Ike. And we're the hosts of AOC Show from BuzzFeed News. We're bringing you up-to-the-minute information, next-level conversations.
I think America has done better for that.
And because we're BuzzFeed, plenty of moments. What? The internet is a dark place. Yeah. Start your day with AM to DM. We'll see you there. Between here and North Main.
This is Bloomberg Daybreak. I'm Alex Steele. Very busy morning here in the financial world. 2 hours before the cash open here in the U.S. S&P futures pretty much flat. European stocks also flat as well. We're awaiting the ECB decision in just about 15 minutes time on the heels of that Fed hike yesterday where you wound up recovering in the treasury market, but now that has switched. If you change up the board here, take a look what's happening in the 10-year market here. Yields moving higher by about 2 basis points. The theme of selling continues in the bond market here in the U.S. 236 is how we print on the 10-year. Also taking a look at sterling after the BOE did nothing. Currency does nothing. UK gilt yields moving lower by about 3 basis points as buying picks up a little bit after that BOE non-decision, and crude a touch softer on the day, but a busy central bank day. Now let's get an update on what's making those headlines outside the business world. Here's Emma Chandra.
Thank you, Alex. Let's stay with the business world and the business flash. Big job cuts on the way at Teva Pharmaceutical. The Israeli drug maker will eliminate about 14,000 jobs, 5% of its workforce. Teva is also suspending its dividend. The company is struggling with $35 billion in debt. There's to be a change at the top of UBS's $1.3 trillion wealth management group. The unit's chief, Jörg Zeltner, is stepping down. Martin Blessing will succeed him in January. Blessing is the former CEO of Commerzbank. The move makes Blessing a potential successor to UBS CEO Sergio Ermotti. And in 3 weeks, billionaire Steve Cohen can once again start managing other people's money, but his new hedge fund plans are making some investors a little wary. According to people familiar with the matter, Cohen's new fund would lock up capital for 1 to 3 years. Clients would only be able to withdraw their money by paying an extra fee. And that's your Bloomberg Business Flash. Alex.
Thank you so much, Emma. Here is your news of the morning in the corporate world. Disney buying assets from Fox for $52.4 billion. There will be an asset spun off from Fox, like their real estate as well as their news section, but a huge downsize for Rupert Murdoch in his business. He spent his whole life amassing assets that made him this kingmaker in the U.S., and now he's selling a bunch of them to Disney for $52.4 billion. Disney beating out rival Comcast. Bob Iger staying on through 2021. In 2021, the question now being what happens with regulation. What does the DOJ say? Well, joining us for more, Dan Ives, Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Technology Research for GBH Insights. And still with us is Geeta Ranaghathan of Bloomberg Intelligence. Geeta, what don't we know at this point?
So, as you pointed out, I think the biggest problem for this deal right now is what the regulatory environment is going to be. We've seen really an unsettled environment right now with the DOJ blocking the AT&T Time Warner merger. And that's a vertical merger, which was absolutely supposed to be a slam dunk, and it hasn't sailed through. So that kind of really poses some very interesting questions for this deal, given that it's a combination of two powerhouses and is a horizontal merger. Again, also, we don't know, as you mentioned, we don't know the succession issue. We know that Bob Iger is going to stay on till 2021, but some real questions there from investors about whether James Murdoch could be a likely successor.
You know, Geeta, I'm just wondering about the point that Alex made a little bit ago, which is the culture clash between 21st Century Fox, the producer of things like X-Men and Deadpool and Logan, Avatar, these some of the big movies, how this merges with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Is there an issue with this, or are we getting any more color around how this is going to go down?
So Disney, if you just see their track record of mergers, they've had an extremely stellar track record. They have a squeaky clean image, and all the acquisitions that Bob Iger has done, he has managed to integrate them absolutely beautifully. The X-Men properties with Deadpool, which you just mentioned, is actually a really great fit because that's the only Marvel property that Disney does not have. So now they have a complete set. So I think it's really going to be a great thing for Disney. They're going to be able to mine all these franchises in many different ways possible, and they just know how to integrate and how to mine properties. Nobody does it better than Disney.
Right, Dan, and that's the interesting point. Properties and the big acquisitions that Bob Iger has made. You're looking at ABC, right? You're looking at Marvel, Pixar. This is really, though, a distribution deal. If you take a look at Sky, what they're going to get from that, they get inroads into India. What do you make of that shift for Disney?
Yeah,
I mean, look, this is all about going after Netflix and the streaming market. I mean, there's been a massive sea shift. This was sort of Disney realizing this was the opportunity that I think we're going to look back on years from now and be like, this is where they pivoted into the streaming content world. It was something that they're launching their own service in 2019. Now, from a content perspective, they really become king, and they become in a position of strength to at least now go after that streaming market with the likes of obviously Netflix at the top, Amazon, Apple, HBO. That's really what this is about. You get 35 to 40% of the box office, but this is about streaming, and it's about them pivoting from traditional media to a direct-to-consumer play. They realized this was the window. It was now was the right time, and obviously with Iger staying on 2021, now the big focus is, what's the next step? How are they going to strategically navigate this, and potentially, as your other guest talked about, some potential regulatory issues.
Dan, you bring up a really excellent point. What does this mean for Netflix? We know that Amazon Prime has other attributes, other streams of revenue, but is this combination of Disney with Fox's assets, is this potentially hugely problematic for Netflix and a huge headwind?
Yeah, look, Netflix right now, it's their world and everyone else is paying rent. So at this point, they're so far ahead from the U.S., from a consumer perspective, as well as the international build-out. I believe this becomes a competitive issue if Disney executes successfully how they navigate Hulu and ultimately how they build out the content. So, this is something where it's a competitive risk to a Netflix, to an Amazon, but those companies are also significantly ahead of where Disney was with building out content, with building out distribution. It all comes down to content. Netflix spending $8 billion, Amazon $6 billion. We have the other three players spending another $6 to $7 billion in 2018. It's all about content. Now Disney's in a position of strength. Now they become a legitimate content competitor on the streaming side to Netflix. You couldn't have said that yesterday.
Yeah, and maybe we'll actually get a good Fantastic Four movie. Wouldn't that be insane? All right, Dan Ives, thanks so much. Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Technology Research for GBH Insights, and Geeta Ranganathan of Bloomberg Intelligence. Plus, later, we'll be speaking with Bob Iger, Walt Disney Chairman and CEO, 9 a.m. New York time. Don't miss it. Lots of questions for him, especially on succession. One of our other top stories of the day comes from the Fed. The Fed finally raising rates again yesterday, upping its growth forecast, sticking to its guns, projecting 3 rate hikes in 2018. But that inflation uncertainty still percolates in the Fed.
I consider it an important priority to make sure that inflation doesn't chronically undershoot our 2% objective, and I want to see it move up to 2%. So most of my colleagues and I do believe that it's being held down by transitory factors, but there's work undone there in the sense we need to see it move up in line with our objective.
Our next guest predicts a 75% chance the Fed will raise rates in March, and we'll see 4 rate hikes actually in 2018. Joining us is Jan Hatzius, Goldman Sachs chief economist. Jan, always a pleasure.
Nice
Hasn't been a while to talk to you.
It has been a
Good
while.
to see you.
Yes, too long.
Why? Why 4 rate hikes next year?
Basically, what we're saying is they're going to keep doing what they're doing, what they've been doing. They've been hiking or starting the balance sheet runoff every quarter since fourth quarter 2016. And actually growing more quickly than it has for most of the past year. I think you're going to see further downward pressure on the unemployment rate. They lowered the unemployment numbers to 3.9% for the end of next year, but I think there's still more downside. We think it's going to fall more sharply. And so while Chair Yellen said bringing inflation up to 2% is an important priority, and we don't think it's going to quite get there in 2018, it's also an important priority to stabilize the labor market. They now think that the labor market has, just about improved as much as it really can on a sustainable basis.
4 rate hikes next year. Does that mean an inverted U.S. yield curve?
I don't think so, because if they do more than what markets are pricing at the moment, and if markets basically believe that the data justify what they're doing, then the expected level of short-term rates over the next 10 years is also going to drift somewhat higher. That has end of the yield curve. And then I think in addition to that, the term premium, which Chair Yellen also referenced in her press conference, probably also has some room to normalize. So I do think that you'll see somewhat higher yields really across the yield curve and not an inverted curve.
Do you think that there's going to be any problem with short-term rates rising with consumer debt, which, apart from mortgages, has reached all-time highs and is much more pegged to the short-end rates?
I mean, of course, there will be some impact. And the point of raising rates, of course, is to have an impact on financial conditions and to slow growth from, if you look at the labor, from near 200,000 pace of job growth to something more like 100,000, which is the long-term sustainable pace. And something has to happen to bring that about. I do think there'll be a little bit of pressure on the consumer. That said, I don't think the consumer is over-leveraged overall. And in particular, mortgages tend to be much more important from a macroeconomic perspective than other types of consumer debt.
Here's what really confused me yesterday is they wound up a lower short and medium term unemployment rate, but inflation projections stayed the same. Do you think that implies that they don't see the Phillips curve need a different model, or that there's just a bigger lagging effect than they thought?
I think it's partly that the Phillips curve is one thing, but there are lots of other things that affect inflation, and partly these numbers are always a little bit kind of marking to the latest data. And what do the latest data say? The latest data say that the labor market has made significant further progress. And so you've got to recognize that. But at the same time, the inflation numbers have still been pretty mixed. They haven't been as strikingly weak as they were over the summer. But obviously yesterday's CPI was also, once again, a little on the soft side. Whether that found its way into the projections, a little hard to know. It was very late in the game. But I think a lot of this is just marking to the data, as any forecaster has to.
So yesterday when we had that dovish hike feel in the market, and that was a lot of the rhetoric, you're smiling. You didn't buy that.
Well, I think
it wasn't a dovish hike.
I was smiling because it always, when they hike, almost always there's sort of the sense, we got this out of the way, and in the end it wasn't so bad, so maybe fixed income can rally a little bit. So that's the only reason why I'm smiling. It's a little bit of a deja vu kind of feel.
I gotta say, 4 rate hikes. Every year, Wall Street analysts have been too optimistic with how high yields are going to rise.
Yields, but hikes this year.
Even with hikes.
No. But this year, actually, that's not true. They did do 3 hikes. And in addition to that, they started the balance sheet runoff, which basically nobody was expecting at the start of the year. So if you take that as a monetary tightening step 2, they've done more than more than expected. So 2016 for sure. 2017, I think, has been a different story.
What's your terminal rate forecast?
3.25 to 3.5.
How much do you think the Fed's going to overshoot that?
Well, that is our terminal rate forecast, so that's where we think they're going to get.
But in the short term, do they wind up getting over that at all, or?
In our forecast, no. In our forecast, that's where they get.
So which asset class gets hammered most with 4 rate hikes?
I mean, the most direct impact, of course, is on shorter and intermediate term bonds. I mean, hammered, I think, that's a very loaded term.
Well,
I think that if you get gradual rate increases, then there will be some pressure in that area.
What's your returns target for intermediate term bonds?
What's the return?
What do you think is going to be the returns on these bonds?
Well, I think they're going to be low. I think mostly positive, but there will be periods of negative returns when you have, sharper increases. Now, in our forecast, of course, all of this happens very gradually because we don't know which month is going to be a really bad one and which one is the recovery. But there will be periods, presumably, if this is right, where you do see negative returns.
Something also is that you're one of the bullish forecasters for global growth so far this year as well, but we are seeming to be on a global tightening cycle in some respects. We wind up having Turkey, we had China. What do you think about that going forward for 2018?
I mean, the world's a big place, so there will be places where you do get tightening. Overall, though, I would say that the U.S. in the DM world is the main major economy that is tightening. I don't think the ECB is going to be tightening anytime soon. I don't think the BOJ is going to be tightening anytime soon. In the EM world, likewise, there are places where you probably will see some tightening, and we've mentioned some of them. But the more strategic view, I think, is that there's actually still quite a bit of slack in the emerging world. Emerging markets did quite poorly 2015, 2016. They've done better recently. They're growing at a quicker pace now, but there's still a decent amount of spare capacity. So I don't think there's any need to slam on the brakes in most of these places. Again, with some exceptions, but overall, I'm fairly constructive that central banks can still underwrite a good amount of growth.
And speaking of, great setup, because in about 30 seconds, we're going to get the latest central bank decision from the ECB. And here is where markets stand just about a few seconds away. You might have having S&P futures pretty much flat. European stocks pretty much flat. Euro dollar pretty much flat. German bund yield pretty much flat. You getting the theme here? We're pretty thought, not going to have a lot of movement. If you switch up the board, you can see what's happening in other asset classes. One of the bigger movers comes from the bond market here in the U.S. You have U.S. 10-year yields moving up by about 2 basis points, 237 at how we print, as the selling of the Treasury market continues at yesterday's short covering rally. Sterling also going nowhere after that BOE non-decision as well, and you wind up having UK 10-year not doing much either. All right, the decision is out. Here's what we know. The ECB main financing rate comes in the same, 0%. Marginal lending facility, the same, to 0.25%, and the deposit rate facility down 4 basis points. So no change in any of the main rates from the ECB. The ECB does say they see QE running until the end of September or beyond if needed. They see rates at present level well past the end of net purchases, and starting from January, they will buy 30 billion euro a month of bonds. They will reinvest for an extended period, though, after the net buying ends. Of course, that is going to be a key question. What do they wind up buying? What do they wind up paring back? Take a look at market reaction here. My guess is we're not seeing much of anything. If you take a look at what's happening with the euro versus the dollar, we were pretty much flat coming into the news, and we're pretty much flat on the news as well. Maybe a modest leg lower, but really we're flat on the day at 118 is how we print. And in the bond market as well, if you take a look at bunds, we're still up by about 1 basis point barely, so not a huge market reaction to the news from the ECB there. I want to get more details from Richard Jones. He's joining us from Frankfurt. He's Bloomberg's rate strategist. Richard, take us through some of the details of the decision.
think this is going to be an interesting meeting, Alex, because we're going to be getting an update to the staff forecasts for growth and inflation. And I think once we get that, when to coincide with Mr. Draghi's press conference in 45 minutes, we'll get a better idea of what the ECB is actually thinking going forward. I mean, I think given the strong, soft, and hard data that we've been seeing out of the euro area, we can probably fully expect them to increase those growth forecasts. The key, though, will be what they do with the inflation forecasts, whether they lift those a little bit higher, because that, of course, has been the elusive thing, is that growth has picked up in the euro area, but inflation is still stubbornly too low for the ECB's liking.
Jan, what's your take?
On the inflation numbers, and well, I think in the euro area, it's much easier to explain the weakness of inflation just with standard macro factors. The unemployment rate is still 8.8%, and Spain's still close to 17%. So it certainly looks to me like there's still quite a lot of slack, and so in that environment, you really expect low inflation, and that I think also means that we're seeing very good growth, but the ECB wants that growth to continue, and they want to make up more ground relative to full employment.
Richard, how much are we expecting to learn today about the composition of the ECB's bond purchases and reinvestments? We know they have been buying corporate bonds as well as governments. Are we going to find anything out today about that?
I think we might get a little bit more, but I'm not really expecting that to be the key takeaway from today's announcement and today's press conference. I think the forecasts are going to be the key takeaway, and we've got a pretty good steer on what the ECB is thinking going forward from their previous meetings. So I think the forecasts are the key thing to focus on, Lisa, and I think the inflation bit is really the most interesting bit.
Jana, I want to stick with the composition of the ECB's balance sheet a little bit, because that really has a big effect on investors' portfolios. For example, Steinhoff, we know the company that includes Sleepy's in the U.S., the mattress maker. They have had a dramatic fall, and now the ECB is thinking of selling their holdings of Steinhoff bonds because they have been downgraded to junk and no longer fit into their characterizations. This is hugely important for the market. Do you think that the composition is going to change? And if so, what does that do to the positioning of investors?
Full disclosure, Lisa's a bond nerd, by the way, in case you didn't get that.
Bond interested human being.
The flow is obviously going to come down, and that will probably be mostly in governments. But what happens beyond September 2018, I think is still a little unclear. We think there probably will be a further extension, but yes, the environment is not going to be quite as favorable from the perspective of central bank demand for assets. Although I think it's a gradual process in the euro area. And I don't have an investment view on Sleepy's.
Well, I do know one of the mattresses ones, actually.
What's that?
The reason why I ask this, though, is because when I talk to bond fund managers, they scrutinize the ECB's balance sheet. This is incredibly important. I mean, do you talk about it on the desk?
Not at that level of granularity, I would say, no. I mean, I do think it's been very important what they've been doing, both on forward guidance and on QE, and I think Mario Draghi has been extremely successful in really getting the euro area economy going. So I think it's been very important in that sense. But yes, we focus more on the macro.
If you take a look at what's happening with the PMIs, killer in Europe, does that gel with 33 basis points on the 10-year bond yield?
Well, I think the 33 basis points on the 10-year bond yield is more about the level of utilization in the euro area as a whole, the 8.8% unemployment rate and the 1% core inflation rate. So I think from that perspective, it does to a degree. I mean, maybe it's a little low. I think over time it's going to go up somewhat, but we're not like a million miles away from where one should be if you focus on the level. The growth rate is a different story. We're making up ground, but there's also a lot of ground to still make up. And I think it's very important to keep those two concepts distinct.
Absolute level versus the pace.
Yes.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, the rate of change is not as important often as, of course, in the markets, we talk about rates of change because it's very fast paced, and that's normal. But I think from a policy perspective, you do have to focus on the levels quite a bit as well, and often more than on the pace.
All right, well, in about 40 minutes time, Mario Draghi is going to be in the hot seat. Richard Jones, if you were in the room, the number one question you're going to ask?
I'd like to see when they think the buoyant growth that we're seeing is really going to start feeding into the inflation numbers, because that is the big conundrum, and there is probably more slack than a lot of people think there is, but it would be nice to get a bit of a time frame on when the ECB expects those growth numbers to start feeding into the inflation.
All right, great stuff, guys. $1 118 is how we print. Very special thanks to Richard Jones of Bloomberg and Jan Hatzius of Goldman Sachs will be sticking with us. And in a little over 40 minutes, we're going to be hearing from ECB President Mario Draghi. We're going to have full live coverage of his news conference, their projections for 2020 in the spotlight. This is Bloomberg.
Can't supposed to crush, guys. You should do angels. Cocoa butter kisses. We should start with no problem. No, you should sing that for last.
How about any song with real instruments?
What up, nigga? What up, nickel? What are you doing, man? What you doing, huh? What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop it. Stop it. Stop being a weirdo. Like that? There. You're done. No. Done. Game over. Game over. Done. What are you doing? What are you doing? Huh? Nope, that was me. That was me. Mm-hmm. You do anything fun outside or no? Just hang out? That's cool.